Micah, if you would like to choose our next two competitors of those four and the topic, go for it.
This is tough. I think I'm gonna pick. Oh goodness! I think I want to pick Stina and Bro. I feel like this is gonna be heated. What is a better read, fiction or nonfiction?
Tails.
All right, Brodaciously picks Tails. All right, it is Tails. Brodaciously, first or second?
I'll go first.
Electing to go first. Let's get both of you pinned really fast and not accidentally remove anybody's video from the... where is Stina? There you are. All right. 1 minute 30 on the clock. Brodaciously, you have elected to go first. And with that, your time begins now.
So I felt like I was going to pick fiction, but I'm not. I'm actually going to go ahead and pick nonfiction. The reason being, fiction is wonderful for escapism, but the thing about nonfiction that is really helpful to me personally, and I would believe society as a whole, is that because it is nonfiction, it provides us a deeper insight into our own history, into other cultures, into social problems that we're having. It can provide us a look at parasocial relationships. For instance, I recently read a book called Men, Women, and Chainsaws, and it was a study on gender in the modern horror film. Things that I would have never thought that I wanted to know about or needed to read about, things that didn't ever occur to me while I was looking into horror movies. Like, it never occurred to me that there would be gendered things happening there. So by providing that insight, I believe that nonfiction specifically allows us the ability to better ourselves and to grow and to learn. I understand that fiction isn't necessarily like the sexiest form of literature or maybe the most interesting for everyone, but if we don't pay attention to things that have happened in history, if we don't continue to allow ourselves to learn, then we as people don't actually ever grow. And I understand that fiction allows us to use our imaginations and grow as well, but providing some sort of logical progression through our lives and providing us the opportunity to learn about real world things may at some...
And that's time. Stina, over to you. 1 minute 30 on the clock. Your time begins now.
Okay, so I'm a high school English teacher, actually. I teach seniors currently, and I've taught multiple years now, multiple grades. While I respect Brodaciously's opinion, I think that fiction is the better read because from my experience, a lot of students do not read in general. The statistic is actually that 1/3 of people graduate high school not reading at all. So I think that if you're looking for people to get into text, fiction is a great way to get that started. The other thing about fiction, and I do agree that nonfiction provides a deeper insight into life, fiction can help you dive into that. So thinking about, like, for you guys and also for chat, the text that had the most impact on you. I know that a lot of people may have read like the Harry Potter genres or similar texts. And, you know, from those kind of experiences, that can help you dive into nonfiction topics. And also fiction isn't completely always fiction. So you can have a fictional text that's still rooted in facts and that are still rooted in very real life experiences. Personally, I like really dark fiction. It's really got me interested in drug addiction, prison reformation, gun control. So I think that, you know, if you're talking about a better read, especially with how people are not reading a lot because of our current society, fiction's a really great diving point to get people interested more in diving into something that's nonfiction or, you know, related to society. So I think, you know, that's more beneficial for our society and is an easier way to get people involved in reading, which is really important and not happening as much. And I'd say with my students, it's very hard to get them into nonfiction, but starting with something fictitious can help them then be more interested.
And that is time. 1 minute 30, Brodaciously, back over to you. Your time begins now.
I absolutely agree that things like the Harry Potter franchise are a great jumping off point to get people into reading. However, in my personal experience, what I've found is that most people who read the Harry Potter books do just that and then don't actually move on to read anything else. So while I am grateful that Harry Potter got a generation of people to read, it doesn't necessarily keep them reading. So I don't necessarily think that that's the most factual thing that we could put out there. On top of that, providing people with nonfiction does spark a deeper interest in things like history, which allows people then to move on and become things like teachers, professors of history, and move into careers that we tend to be sorely lacking in because, oh, I just have to memorize a bunch of facts, things like that. So by providing those nonfiction books, not only are they learning something, but they're also preparing themselves for a possible career, not a job, an actual career that they can develop and create a lifelong love for. So reading fiction definitely can inspire people to become writers or to become English teachers. I totally get that. I read all the fucking time. I've purchased 100 books over the course of quarantine. Like, that's my shit. But I think that the things that I've read recently that have been the best for me and the best for my mindset in quarantine is actually nonfiction, because it's helped me become a better person, become a more calm person, and actually a more empathetic, kind, and caring person for the people around me based on issues.
Time! Stina, 1 minute 30, back over to you. Your time begins now.
Okay, so I totally agree that nonfiction is a great way to learn about history, but I think that in saying that, we're ignoring a really important genre, which is historical fiction. So personally, I'm someone that I have a hard time focusing on nonfiction. It's really hard for me to stay engaged if it's not written really well. Historical fiction text, specifically, I'm thinking about two that are about the Holocaust. So All the Light We Cannot See and The Book Thief, I think, are both about the Holocaust. There's also The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. So all those texts are still historically, they stand up and they definitely provide facts about history, but they make it a more engaging read. And I think for our most reluctant readers, that can be the entry point into learning more history. I also think that given the times, I think we do need an escape. So, you did actually say that fiction, it provides that escapism. And I think with the times right now and how depressing history can be, especially when you're talking about things like the Holocaust and racism, I think sometimes we do need to escape. So while it's great to learn about our history, and there can be definitely nonfiction texts that are more of in a positive light, there's definitely positive historical experiences. I think what we need as a society right now is to escape. We're all on Twitch. I think Twitch serves as an escape, and I think fiction can do the same thing. And I'm thinking about the books that had the most impact on my life, and I think of Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, which is fictional, but taught me a lot about racism and had me go into more information about learning about colorism and the impact of lighter skin versus darker skin on privilege. So just in my own personal experiences, I think fiction really served as a way for me to then, learn.
Time. 1 minute back and forth between both of you. Be sure to both unmute. Your times begin now.
I definitely understand where you're coming from about fiction and us needing it, but one of the things that I keep coming back to in my head about that is that currently in our society as it stands, people believe a whole lot of fiction is like real. Like if we want to take that and move like, okay, fiction, not real, well, QAnon and the things that they believe is fiction, and it's
I would
not
call that fantasy, though.
And with fiction and fantasy falls under the guise of fiction.
True, but fiction can still be
fiction.
Fiction can be based on real life.
Sure, it absolutely can. But what I'm saying is, people tend to have a hard time discerning. Well, not you guys, because y'all are all smart. But some people have a really difficult time discerning between fact and fiction. So I think that providing people the opportunity to read nonfiction provides them the opportunity to see these are facts that are being set forth. And you are also talking about learning about colorism and things like that. Yeah. But books like Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Birds Sing and the book Night.
Ooh, that's time. Let's go to voting. Who won, chat? Stina or Brodaciously? Poll is up. Be sure to vote in it. Let's go down to our judges and see who they think was the better debater. Starting off at the top, Detailed Pig. Who did it better?
This was insanely hard. I feel like it is pretty much tied. I'm gonna just have to pick Stina because I liked that she came in with the facts about reading and that, but otherwise, like that, it was very even. So good job to both of you.
All right, one vote for Stina. Moving on, Itty Bitty Blue. Who did it better?
Oof. So both of them had really good points. I read both fact and fiction very well. Like I have my Bombshells right next to my Florida Folktales book, which is a great history lesson on a lot of Florida, past history. I read them both a lot. I started with fiction, and I believe, which one of you did fiction? I'm sorry. Which one was it?
Stina did.
Who? Trinity?
Stina.
Stina. I'm sorry. Wow. Okay. I lost track of who was who. Stina did a really good job of mentioning that you usually start with fiction to start and get people on the track to reading nonfiction. No, I switched the two.
Yeah, no, you said that right.
Stina did a great job. I'm voting for Stina.
All right, 2 for Stina. Neurotic, who did it better?
They both did so well. I can tell you both are readers because you like have both sides of my mind when it comes to reading. One of my first like big series was the Aragon series. I think The Inheritance is what it's called. But at the same time, I fell in love with Princess Diaries, and I mean they were diaries from real princesses of the past. Anne Boleyn and King Henry was probably my favorite because you learn about Catherine and the church and the relationship they had with the crown and how English and all that shit came to power. But if I had to say who did the best arguing, I see what Predacious you're trying to say with the whole, in the end, we are kind of trying too hard to go into our imagination. Yes, it's great to escape, but I think we are getting so far into the terms of imagination that we're even losing sight that half the fiction stuff you're watching is based off of real events. You don't even know. You don't even see the correlation. Your brain has become even like as girls, like, you know, you were believed that there's a prince. You felt like he was supposed to take care of you, save you from a dragon. A lot of girls, at least I'm from Florida, so I was born in Disney princess fucking capital. All girls believed that. They believed that they needed to be a king, a princess, stuff like that. And I could see what Bardacious was trying to get at, and she didn't put it in as much detail because I know like that cut probably would have been lost, but I liked her argument on that and what she was starting to get in. So my vote goes for Brodacious.
All right, 1 for Brodaciously. Alpha Lita, who did it better?
Right?
Yes, Brodaciously did nonfiction. Alpha Lita, who did it better?
So these were 2 really good. First, Meta, I wanted to share. I like how you gave the options to argue, but we stuck with one topic, fictional and non-fictional, and they both got to choose. I really like that. Okay, so my notes are really messy.
That was Micah's topic, by the way.
Micah, thank you. Okay, non-fictional actually creates fictional books. #facts. That was in my notes. But yeah, I do agree with Bodaciously. Also with Neurotic. Okay, on a serious note, what Neurotic was saying that sometimes, yeah, we do need escapism, but to really invest in yourself, these non-fictional books really help you. But in terms of fictional, they help you escape. And personally, I love fictional movies, but not non-fictional. And I felt like sometimes with non-fictional, you kind of separate eventually with like escapism and like what actually really happens. But I honestly, my vote goes for non-fictional because those are the most books I read anyway.
All right, 2-2. Coriander, who did it better?
I always like both arguments. We're all such clever little people today. I'm gonna go with Stina. I feel like they both had really, really good arguments and debates, but I feel like Stina had I feel like she countered and she came with some good points. And also I did appreciate the way both of them did have personal experiences that she came in with, both that she brought up what gets kids into reading and everything, and how fiction is a lot more accessible for people. And I felt like that was a really good point, because I've read both nonfiction and fiction that are really I love and everything, but I have a hard time getting people to read nonfiction books. But if I recommend a fictional book, they're more likely to read it.
All right, so that was 3-2 in favor of Stina. Trinity, it all comes down to you. Who did it better?
I do not like being the deciding factor. So I am a huge I don't know how the best way to say this. Okay, I'm a huge fiction lover. I oftentimes don't read nonfiction. So I was trying really hard to not be biased. I feel like I was almost being biased towards Brodaciously because I didn't want to be biased because of that opinion of mine. but a lot of the time I kind of felt like Bradaciously was arguing or debating with regards to why we should keep nonfiction and not why it should be the only one. Whereas I feel like Stina was arguing why fiction should be the only one. So that, and only for that reason, because both of you were amazing. Just, I do want to put that out there. Both of you argued amazingly, and I was like, I am way too tipsy for this. And I hope that my round doesn't look like this, because I will 100% lose. But yeah, for that reason and that reason only, I'm going to go with Stina.
All right. Stina with 4 votes will take the round. Chat was split 50-50. Not picking a competitor for a victor there. So Stina does take the round.